Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy.
Saints Wire, they put out an article talking about the worst case scenario for the New Orleans Saints. They quoted Bleacher Report's Brad Gagnon. He put out the worst case scenario for every single team. And for the Saints, he said, look, while they're on the board in at the number 14 spot, Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, J.C. Latham, Fatanu, and Talise Fuaga are all gone when the Saints pick. The top 5 offensive tackles are all gone by number 14. Said now the Saints have other needs they can fill, and there's quality players there at 14, whether it's a big-time wide receiver that you can pair next to Chris Olave or someone on the defensive line. But nothing's going to help the Saints quite like an offensive tackle. While I agree, he admits this in his article, saying, look, I think this is very unlikely, but it's not impossible. I think it's extremely unlikely. I don't think there's any way that all of those players go before 14. I think you're going to have your pick of about 2 guys. We'll see. You're going to at least get one. I am confident in saying that. I wanted to lay out an actual worst case scenario for the New Orleans Saints, because we've seen all the mock drafts, right? And there's been so many trade talks. Now, the main candidates in the top 5 that they've talked about, hey, we're willing to trade. What's your best offer? Is the New England Patriots at 3 and the LA Chargers at 5. Now, either one of these could be bad news for the Saints. But let's focus on the Chargers, because the Chargers' needs in this draft are very similar to your needs. What are your 2 biggest needs? It's offensive line and it's a wide receiver. Pretty much across the board, you've been mocked an O-lineman in round 1 and a wide receiver in round 2. For the Chargers, they need an offensive lineman to protect Justin Herbert, and they need a wide receiver because they lost pretty much all of them. Keenan Allen, yeah, he's going to be catching passes for Caleb Williams in Chicago next year. Mike Williams, nope. Austin Eckler out of the backfield, nope, not there either. They need pass catchers in a big way. So what teams would trade up with the LA Chargers? Obviously, if you're trading up, you need a quarterback, which is why the Chargers are in such a great spot. They're probably in the best spot of anybody in the draft because they have that top 5 pick, and they're the only team in the top 5 that you know for certain is not taking a quarterback. Now, no quarterbacks have been mocked to Arizona, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. I mean, I certainly don't think Kyler Murray's the answer. Maybe they want to give him another year, but you know that they have their franchise guy in Justin Herbert out there in LA. So that's the one team in the top 5 you know is not taking a quarterback. These teams that are hungry for a quarterback, they're going to want to trade up, and they're going to say, hey, Chargers, that's our most likely trade partner because they don't need a QB. Obviously, the Vikings is the team we've been talking about the most. They're at 11. They really want one of the top 3 guys. The problem is, if you trade up with the Chargers, you're still at number 5. You would have to trade with the Patriots, which could happen, but I don't think that impacts the Saints as much. Also, the Vikings are already ahead of you in this draft, and they're not taking anything other than a quarterback. I think they could potentially stay put at 11 and still have J.J. McCarthy. But if they traded up, you know what you're getting. And I mean, that would give the Chargers 2 first-round picks because the Vikings have 11 and 23. Now, it sucks for the Saints because Chargers are ahead of you, but they were already ahead of you. Not that big of a deal. Now, if the Raiders at 13 trade with the Chargers, I think this is worst-case scenario for the New Orleans Saints. Talked about it just a second ago. Their needs are the same as your needs. Offensive line and wide receiver. If they trade with the Raiders sit at 13. I imagine in order to get that 5th pick, the Raiders would have to give up their 2nd round pick as well. Where are the Raiders in the 2nd round? They are once again right before the Saints at 44. So if the Raiders jump up into the top 5 to get that QB of the future that they've been wanting, they would give the Chargers 13 and they would give the Chargers 44. If you're the Saints, you're at 14 and at 45. So What has been the most likely position mocked to the Chargers outside of Malik Nabers? It's offensive tackle. You'll take an offensive tackle at 13. That's one less option for the Saints there in the first round. In the second round, you're sitting there at 45. What do you need? A wide receiver. What did the Chargers take at 44? A wide receiver. They have the same need as you, and they're one pick ahead of you in the first and second round. That's bad news. Because not only may you not get the player that you're really after because the Chargers could steal him from you, now you're really questioning whether or not you need to trade up. You need to trade up because now you got to get back ahead of the Chargers. Because you can't be behind them 2 rounds in a row when they have the exact same needs you do. Do the Saints trade with the Chargers straight up? We've seen that Trevor Penning's been on the trade block for a while. Teams have talked to, a lot of insiders have said, hey, this is a guy that could be on the trade block for the Saints. He could be a piece that they could deal on draft day. The issue that the Saints are running into, you don't have a 3rd or a 4th round pick. After 45, you have 4 5th round picks. Now, can you trade those 5th round picks? Sure you can. You can trade all 3 of those 5th round picks, keep one of them. I don't see how you'd move up further than middle of the 4th round. I don't think that gets you a 3rd round pick. I think you'd have to throw a player in there. So yes, in a world where all of these offensive tackles are taken before the Saints get there, that's bad news, but the Saints could still always take a receiver there in the first round and then regroup there in the second. There would be quality offensive linemen left. I mean, is it anybody that you think is going to be a plug-and-play day one starter? No, but you're just going to have to get what you get at that point. Now, the Chargers trade and they are ahead of you in the first and second round, I think that's trouble. I think that is a nightmare scenario for the New Orleans Saints. And I don't want to freak anybody out here, but I don't think it's incredibly unlikely either. I think all those tackles being gone before you're picking is unlikely. I don't think this is unlikely at all. We've heard about the Jaden Daniels rumors that are going around lately, which we'll get into in the next segment. And we know that Antonio Pierce absolutely loves Jaden Daniels going back to his time at Arizona State. Whether it's 5 or it's 3, the Raiders are looking to trade up in this draft. The Raiders and the Vikings, I think, are the most likely teams to trade up in the first round. If the Chargers trade to either one of them, it's tough. Because now you're hoping that the guy falls to you or that he's available, but now you also got to find a way to get back over the Chargers so that they don't take your guy. It's a tough spot to be in.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.